This is Gareth Southgate, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England supporters podcast. Thank you for tuning in once again. As always, it's great to have you along. And welcome if you're a new listener. Settle back and enjoy wherever you may be listening from. The domestic season has now reached its climax. Congratulations if your team has come away with a trophy or gained promotion. Commiserations if you felt that mid-table mediocrity feeling or the pain of relegation. Hopefully, you can put those feelings to one side over the summer, as it's going to be a busy one which will hopefully culminate in Harry Kane and England lifting the Henry Delaunay Trophy at the top of Wembley's steps underneath Wembley's arch. Now, at the time of releasing this, I should have arrived home after England's game against Austria up at Middlesbrough's Riverside Stadium. I'm guessing I got in at about 2 a.m, but I'm recording this well in advance of that. So here's hoping that it was a good game, a positive result with lots of things Gareth can take away and think about ahead of the Romania game on Sunday the 6th. I will, of course, be looking back on both of those games very soon with an England correspondent, but this episode is one I've been looking forward to releasing, and I'm hoping that you'll find it interesting and enjoyable too. Now, regular listeners will have heard me mention Block 109 and speak with various members from it. They are a fans group that aims to enhance the atmosphere at Wembley for England games and also raise money for various good causes. So let's get straight on with it, as I'm chatting with another member. It's about a project that has come to fruition after a lot of hard work, time, effort and investment from this group of England supporters. Now, there are some things that just go hand in hand: Germany and penalties, VAR and frustration, and for the vast majority, football and beer. And I like a pre-match beer as much as the next person. But as an England podcast, to be honest, I've never really had the opportunity to talk about beer on air. It's never really come up. Until now, that is. I'd like to welcome Aston Villa, an England fan, and brainchild behind the beer, Wembeerly, Kevin Masters. Hello there, you all right?
Hello there, Russell. Thanks for having us on. How you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, great. Yeah, really good.
I've pronounced that right, haven't I? Wembeerly.
Wembeerly, yeah. Wembley with beer in the middle.
Love it. Great play on words. Wembeerly. Go on, tell us about it. How did this all come about?
So this was this all originated in the first lockdown, really. We were looking at ways to grow Block 109, which is the England supporters club that I'm sure everyone's heard of.
Yeah.
So we were looking at a way to kind of boost members and get the name out there even further. Me and Kunal were chatting about different things we can do. Really, we wanted something that would gain a bit of PR, get the name out there. So one evening, I moved into a new house and I had to turf my lawn. This is the full story of exactly how it happened.
Sure.
I had to turf my lawn at the back, and I had this idea of, wouldn't it be great if I could somehow use the same seeds that are used at Wembley to turf my garden? And I just went into this wormhole of Google, of searching around and finding out exactly what seed is used. And I found out it's all rye. It's all rye seed, and it's a very unique blend that is used to grow the pitch at Wembley. Right. But it is all four different types of rye, and it just clicked that maybe we could make some beer with it.
It's a fundamental part of beer, isn't it, rye?
Well, yeah. I mean, you can make beer with lots of different things, but you can make rye PAs with it, and It's quite flexible beer, really. Like as I've learned, there's lots of different ways that you can actually make it, and there's lots of different ingredients. And as long as you stick to certain rules, something nice normally pops out the other end. But you can make a beer with rye. So I just thought this could be quite an interesting project. Maybe we can get a bit of PR off it, and as we'll talk about a little bit later, raise a little bit of money for charity as well.
Yeah. So have you brewed beer before? Is this something you've done?
No, I've made cider before years ago. A mate's dad had like an orchard in Herefordshire next to his house, and no one was using it. It kind of went past its point of being useful. So Bulmers just didn't use it anymore. So we had a year of making cider, and it was really good fun. And we entered it into a few competitions and stuff like that. And so a little bit of history on it, but not a lot. Never made beer, but made booze.
But I mean, the important thing is this is no homebrew, is it? This is no Boots kit. You've gone about this the proper way.
No, absolutely not. So, and I think that's really important that we didn't make it like that because it would not be legitimate and no one would want to buy it. Once I sourced the exact place where you get the seeds from, this unique blend, then I ordered some and started speaking to some breweries. Now, a lot of breweries were unfortunately going through a really difficult time last year. So although they thought that their idea was really interesting, they were just not set up. Really, they were fighting fires. They were trying to survive, and they were not really interested in projects. So I must have spoke to about 10. And then I spoke to one guy, and he said, look, we just can't do this at the moment, but I know who will definitely do this for you. And his name is Rob Jenkins, and he works for Portobello Brewing Company. He said, give him a ring. He was like, he's a big footy fan and he loves a crazy project. I bet you will do it. So I got in touch with him and he bit my arm off. He was like, right, let's do it. He was like, we could do with a bit of fun. Like, it's been a bad year.
Yeah.
And then we were kind of away then. Really, that was the kind of making of it, to be honest with you, as soon as we had a partner like that.
So they're Portobello Brewing Company. They're based in London, are they?
Yeah. West London, based in just up the road from White City. And they've got quite a few ranges of beer, and they own a few pubs, and also just like really kind of talented and nice. So they had the ability to have a look at the rye and go sort of see what would complement it in the way of hops and what style would be good for it. And then we'd sort of experimented with a few things, and also just the niceness to go, hey, okay, let's help out some lads who've got an idea but don't really know how to do it, and spare a bit of their time to help us, really.
So this is the seed, the rye that's used on the Wembley pitch.
Yeah.
How have Wembley taken this as the groundsman? Is he aware of it? Is it Carl Stanley, I think, the groundsman at Wembley?
Carl Stanley, yeah. So I tweeted him actually I sent him a DM on Twitter just to confirm that the exact blend was right, and he replied. We had an AGM. We had a Block 109 AGM, and there was a couple of people from the FA there, and we sort of told them about the project. But it was in such an early acorn stage at that point, and they were like, "Oh, that's quite interesting. Like, we wondered if a bit of help." But it's a project we've sort of done off our own back, really, and it's something that we also want to. It's to raise the profile of Block 109, which will get more members, and then that will help improve the quality of the atmosphere at Wembley, and also at the same time we want to raise a little bit of money and give back to grassroots football. So it's in everyone's interest to help the project, really. Yeah.
So I saw a couple of photos of some of the guys from Block 109 standing around some massive silver stainless steel vats that I've no idea how many pints or gallons were inside of there. So how long did it take to get from one of those, I don't know, stills, I don't know what they're called, into a bottle, which I've got in my hand here, which I'm going to crack open in a minute. So the process from sort of into bottle, into mouth.
So once we decided on exactly what the mix of the recipe would be, like the style and exactly what hops we were going to use, we put a brew on. So it would be, we were going to make about 250 cases of 24 with a first brew. That's like a minimum sort of first brew that you can do. It took 2 weeks to actually brew the beer. Then you have to send it all off to be tested and all the health and safety stuff that they have to do with it. And then after that, it was sent for bottling. And at the time, there was a little, like, because the world was coming out of the lockdown, like this was like a few months ago, there was just a weird sort of shortage of bottles around the whole country. So actually we were just sort of stuck in the system for a while and we couldn't get it bottled. Yeah. And obviously we weren't a priority for because not being a repeat customer. So it probably took about 4 weeks, but you could do it quicker than that really. And then you have to have it labelled as well. But one of the members of the block is an extremely talented designer called Greg, and he meticulously worked on the brand and how it looks, and we went backwards and forwards lots of times with it, and he's done such a fantastic job with it to really kind of bring out a little bit of the humour with it. I think we just sort of positioned quite nicely that there's a lot of humour sort of in the name Wembeerly, the pun of it, but also the idea comes through, I think, through the label and through the name, and also trying to say what we're trying to do. So he's did a cracking job on it. Obviously, there was a few weeks of work before that as well. Quite a lot of work went into it in the end. It feels like it's just going to be, we'll just crack on and make a beer, but there's quite a lot of work went on behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And Gunn, there's a few other guys involved with it all. Do you want to give them a name check?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's Rob and Sam and Kunal. They just did like so much work on it, and we've all got jobs to do, and we've had to sort of like fit it in between. Like one of the lads, Rob, was running one of the testing services down in Kent, and Kunal works for the NHS, and just doing it alongside jobs, it was quite difficult. But we all had a sort of a focused goal to get this beer out, and we got it out in the end.
Ah, absolutely.
It's a cracking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just as I got it in my hand, it's the label is it's got Wembeerly emblazed across the front of it. Some people have brewed the pitch as one of the strap lines, which I think is great. It's an IPA. It is 5%. And says this unique blend of proud rye seeds not only creates the canvas for England's finest football talents, it now makes a title-winning beer too. It says it all on the bottle, doesn't it? Nice. I think I've heard that before, but it's going to be an ideal time to try it, to sample it. So I'm going to pour it into a glass. There you go. A bottle of 330ml beer. It's an IPA. Talk us through the colour of it. I mean, is that the intended colour? Is that what you... I've known nothing about beer and this side of things, but is that what you wanted it to look like?
Oh God, you know what? I couldn't even answer that question. It was it was probably the last thought on our minds what it actually looked like. As long as it looked drinkable and sumptuous, I guess. Then I hadn't really thought about it, to be completely honest with you.
Go on, let's see what it tastes like. It's nice. It's fruity. Would I take that to be a fruity beer and an IPA? What have we got? Yeah,
it's dry. It's dry hopped. It's dry hopped, and it's got
fresh DH IPA with tropical.
That's dry hops. Yeah,
fresh dry hops IPA with tropical and passion fruit notes. There you go. And also it says every bottle sold will see money go towards English grassroots football, the building blocks of the beautiful game, so you're helping your country with every sip. Now, you mentioned this about some of the proceeds going towards good causes of grassroots football. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different projects that we're going to give some money to if we can get into profit on it. At the moment, we're still investing quite a bit of money and we're not quite broken even yet, but we will do. We will break even on it, and then a proportion of the profits will go towards different grassroots football causes. One of them we've got in mind is called Grassroots for Good, which was set up by the owners of Hackney Wick FC. And then a couple of the other lads have got different grassroots causes that they're going to send to as well. It just felt like it gave like a nice little sort of complete circle to donate to grassroots football. And grassroots football has struggled a lot last year as well, as we all know, and they need a helping hand. So if everyone out there can just grab a bottle of Wembeerly during the football, order some in. Probably got to be the easiest way that they can contribute to charity. All they've got to do is watch football and drink a beer.
It's almost too easy, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, it's too easy.
the thought of maybe you are putting money into the grassroots game for potentially a young lad that is kicking a ball around his local club, aged 8, 9, 10, who I don't know, if you look at say, Jude Bellingham's age of 17, in 7, 8 years' time, could be representing England, couldn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just by drinking beer, we could be pushing through the kind of talent that will represent us in like Germany or America, win us that World Cup.
Could do. Go on. So where can you buy it from? That's the main thing.
So there's a couple of places direct from Portobello Brewing, and we're also setting it up on our website as well. So all the details are available on block109.co.uk, and it's available in either 12s or 24s. It's also going to be available in some pubs as well. So We've had quite a bit of interest from different pubs to stock it. A lot of that work has been done by Portobello through their network of people that they supply. They've sent out details of this beer and its uniqueness and the story behind it. And pubs have come forward and said they want to stock it. So it's going to be, it's mainly around London, really. Yeah. But there's quite a few places that are going to stock it. So hopefully listeners will walk into their local pub and see it there as well. So that's another way to try it. But if you certainly want to show off to some guests during the football this Euros, then I'd recommend getting a slab in.
Yeah, no, I mean, with plenty of, due to the unfortunate restrictions on capacities at Wembley, there's going to be a lot of people having home parties, I guess. Now we're all allowed to go into each other's house. We can all go and watch the football around each other's house. So, yeah, like Wembeerly in bottles. I mean, is it on tap as well?
Yes, yeah, it'll be on tap in the pubs, and so we've been sending it out on keg and cask. We did have a think about doing it in cans. In retrospect, probably we maybe should have made cans instead of bottles. Probably the one mistake that we made. But when you set out on these journeys and you've never done it before, you have to learn first, don't you? And then and then the hope going forward is that we can continue it after the Euros if can put a little bit of money back into it and then see if we can listen to what pubs are telling us about. Was the beer popular? Did it only sell during football, or was there any interest in it after that? How much PR we get? Hopefully the story can continue. I guess it could just be one spike and then that's it, but it would be nice if it could continue. And we've certainly got some thoughts about doing maybe some other beers or some other projects, and so hopefully we can learn from some things and improve on it. Yeah,
and I mean, indeed, what's the sort of feedback been so far? Because I know you launched it on, was it St George's Day?
Yes, we just about got it out in time for St George's Day, and lots of the lads from the block they bought a load, and then just slowly we've sort of filtered it all out through our networks, and loads of people have been buying it, and in general it seems to be. Oh, I'm surprised it was nice because I guess when you get because I guess just the nature of the project, and everyone sort of knows that we're not master brewers, but they don't maybe appreciate that we have teamed up with master brewers for this. So it was a little bit of surprise at actually how genuinely nice it is. So it's testament to the guys at Portobello. What a brilliant job they've done with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's all right. It goes down well. So yeah, just moving on from the beer, let's talk England for a moment. How do you think things are going to pan out come the Euros? Excited?
Oh yeah, enormously excited. I mean, I'm like a lot of people. I'm a little bit gutted with how the tickets have fallen, obviously, and I'm just trying not to make that ruin the actual tournament. Going from tickets to every single game to I've got a ticket for one now, but you've got to make the most of it, right? And actually, this Euros is probably going to be maybe one of the better ones we'll ever feel, just because of what we've all been through. So I think I'm enormously excited by it, and it's increasing by the day. Like the squad coming out, and then I was having a look at some of the, just having a look around, like having a really good sniff around some of the other squads and how they're all set up. I'm worried about that last 16 game. We've got an awful draw there because we're one of the only teams that is not, if you do top the group, is not playing a third place team. We're playing a second place team.
Yeah.
So I think we've had a bit of bad luck there, essentially. But if you're going to win it, you've got to beat someone good at some point. So, yeah.
And obviously,
what do you think?
I think my thoughts fluctuate. Obviously, last year once we'd qualified, I was right. Yeah, we're going into it, and then over this past year, thoughts have just sort of dampened a bit. So I'm trying to get back to that time when we'd qualified, and it's slowly coming back now. And I think we can get to the semis, but what will happen then remains to be seen, I think. But you're right, that round of 16 could be very, very tricky. But get past that, and unfortunately, it's the round of 16 is the one that is at home. It's the quarterfinal that's potentially away. So we've still got that home advantage. I've still got the home advantage.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, no one will want to play us as well. I think sometimes we sort of forget that. We end up looking at opposition too much, and you go through all their players, and you're like, oh God, like, look, that person's done this in that league, that person's done that, and I think we sort of instill like a sense of kind of like some sort of like magic in an opponent, and you sort of forget, like, turn the tables. No one's going to want to come to Wembley and play against like Grealish and Foden and Kane. They're going to be terrified. I think, are we going to set ourselves up for success, or are we going to set ourselves up for not losing? And I think that's the big question. That's the big question of Southgate, right? Yeah,
I think you're right. And you've mentioned him there as an Aston Villa fan. Grealish, can he set this on fire?
Oh, of course. I mean, extremely biased, but I mean, he's just incredible, absolute magician. Him and Foden. I mean, Foden has had such an amazing season, and maybe playing with a little bit more freedom than Grealish is. That sort of youthful, like, just that lack of caring, not really realising. Maybe a little bit like Owen and Rooney when they came through. That kind of like, just they don't really appreciate the size of it yet, so just play with an extra level of kind of creative abandon. But God, there's goals everywhere in that team, isn't there? Like, if we play enough of the people in the right formation.
Yeah.
But yeah, Grealish is special, very special. But will he start? Would you start him?
I think based on he was injured towards the end of the season, wasn't he? So maybe rest him for maybe for the first couple of group games. Maybe introduce him as a sub, coming on, and see how it pans out from then, and then really push him on. I think it's going to depend on his fitnesses, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we wait and see. Wait and see.
Oh God, it's going to be so good. Really excited.
Absolutely. Go on once more. Just tell us about the beer. Where can we get it from? Where can we find it?
Okay, so if you go to block109.co.uk, all the details about the beer are on there, and all the details about Block 109 as well, and where you can buy it, and how you can join Block 109 and increase the atmosphere at Wembley.
Lovely. Kevin Masters, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Cheers for having us on.
Thank you to Kev there for his time and explaining how Wembeerly went from an idea in his back garden to being here in my hand. And as he said, you can buy a slab via the website block109.co.uk, and also direct from Portobello Brewers. And I should also say, to cover my own back, please do drink responsibly. And with many watching games from the comfort of their own homes this summer, you could get yourself a pack in to accompany the matches. As he said, you could be helping a future England player. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, all previous episodes can be found at threelionspodcast.com, and also at your podcast provider of choice. And now's a good time to leave a review. Would be much appreciated. As I mentioned, I'll be back very soon with that review of the recent games against Austria and Romania. And don't forget, you can have your say on those games by sending me a voice message with your thoughts. Email it to threelionspodcast@gmail.com. Keep it short and sweet. Tell us who you are, who you support, and follow it with your message. We are on all the social channels, Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Just search 3 Lions Podcast. So until the next time, and I do tend to finish up with a cheers at the end of each episode, this time just seems perfect too, doesn't it? Cheers!